ask you about a column that I saw that you recently wrote, because you do a fair amount of writing. It was about the Trump doctrine in foreign policy. Although, as you pointed out, at the time of your writing, there really had not yet been a clear declaration of a Trump doctrine by the administration. But how would you define President Trump's second-term approach to foreign affairs? And do you see it differing from the way he approached foreign policy in his first term?
Well, to begin with, I don't think any president or any author of any doctrine actually said, this is my doctrine.
Okay.
No, I don't think Eisenhower did, Truman didn't, and so on. So I'm not surprised that nobody has actually picked up on that. The question is there a doctrine? And I think there is, and I think it does differ from where he was the first term. A doctrine implies a certain coherence, and I believe that he clearly does not want American boots on the ground pretty much anywhere.
Okay.
You hear him talking about pulling troops out of Europe. You hear him talking about pulling troops out of East Asia, Korea in particular. On the other hand, he is definitely determined to use naval and air forces wherever they might be needed. There's a term called offshore balancing. It actually was borrowed from the Brits, from Castlereagh in the 19th century. Look at what he just did with the Houthis.
Yeah.
Classic offshore balancing. Didn't put people on the ground. He might, maybe, perhaps, put some Marines. I think it'll be Marines if it's anybody, because they come off ships and they can go back on ships. Nobody permanent on the ground. But he bombs them, and he's still bombing them, and he's bombing them intensely. That did not happen in the first term. There wasn't a coherent sense of what he wanted to get out of Afghanistan. Actually, it was Biden who did, but he negotiated it.
Right.
He didn't want to be involved in forever wars, but he never really, I think, had a coordinated, coherent sense of what he wanted.
In fact, wanted to diminish the troop strength in Syria.
That's right.
Did attack General Soleimani of Iran, but not boots on the ground.
That's exactly right. But it wasn't as coherent.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, look, he bombed Syria.
Yeah.
He saw those children being gassed, and boom, he reacted.
Right.
But you didn't get a sense of coherence. I mean, clearly, he's learned from that first term in many, many ways. A lot of people have problems with what he's learned, but that's a whole other issue. But in this regard, I think this is where he's headed.
Okay, but aside from the military aspects of a so-called Trump doctrine, you also have a President Trump who speaks about acquiring other territories. Is that also part of a larger doctrine of some sort, or?
Well, his hero might be President James K. Polk, who was ready to take over Canada if he didn't get his way, 54-40 or fight. He's not the first president who tried to acquire Greenland, by the way.
Yeah.
I think his concept is America should be North America. And anything north of the United States should be his. Whether that'll happen or not, I think what he's done is unite the Canadians to the point where Mark Carney might well be reelected as prime minister.
Which wasn't going to happen a few months ago.
Wasn't going to happen under his predecessor,
Right.
That's for sure. The Greenlanders are very unhappy. But beyond just sort of taking over, he definitely wants to see a much stronger defensive posture, primarily against China. And that has to do with something he doesn't talk about, which is global warming. But it's global warming that's created the worry, because if the Chinese can start moving through the Northwest Passage, which was always a dream but didn't really exist, but now might, that creates a security challenge for the United States. So obviously, he'd like to take Canada, he'd like to take Greenland. But remember, Mr. Trump takes the most extreme position on something and then waits and sees what he gets out of it. It's not a bad negotiating posture. It just drives some people a little wild.
I guess we'll see.